Jay-Z said I was just one hit away from being a superstar, but I still ended up going bankrupt.
This is Pocket Watching with JT.
Hey, Pocket Watchers, I am certified financial planner Jason Thornton, and this is the Bankruptcy Breakdown. This is where I react to the financial failures of your favorite Black celebrities so that you can learn the lesson without going through the trouble. Now, let's go pocket watching. So on this episode of Bankruptcy Breakdown, we will be going over the bankruptcy of Roc-A-Fella Records legend, Memphis Bleek. Now, for those of you who are unaware of the work of Memphis Bleek, understand he was one of the cornerstones of the Roc-A-Fella dynasty. Of course, it was led by Jay-Z, but understand that Memphis Bleek absolutely held his own. Memphis Bleek has some hits now. Let's not sleep on Memphis Bleek. What record was bigger than Is That Yo Chick during that time? When, when that came out, I could go nowhere without hearing Is That Yo Chick. One of my personal favorites is Round Here. Round Here was definitely something that I heard over and over again, and it was one of my personal favorites. Now, I will have to admit, my favorite Memphis Bleek bar has to be not even on his own song. It was a feature on Jay-Z's Money Cash Hoes. Understand, it's sentimental to me because when I heard this bar, it actually made me try to learn who is that guy. Because to be honest, I mean, he was in the crew. He wasn't like a feature guy that I knew that, oh, okay, yeah, Memphis Bleek. When I heard this bar, I said, okay, what's this guy's name? And it may not impress you, but I remember it. In this song, he opens up saying, y'all can't do nothing with this here. For one, I packed 3 nines like the year. Listen, it was 1999. I was a young man. I was probably a freshman in high school, and I love that bar. I will never forget that bar. But I got to go to my favorite Memphis Bleek connected bar. And I say connected because this is not a bar that Memphis Bleek spit. This is a bar from Jay-Z, and I will never forget this. This is Jay-Z featured on the remix of Kanye West's Diamonds from Sierra Leone. In this bar, it sets up perfectly this episode. Jay-Z said on this song, Bleek can be one hit away his whole career. As long as I'm alive, he's a millionaire. And even when I die, he's in my will somewhere. Listen, you want a friend like that. You want a friend like that. But I want to remind you guys of something. Not too long ago, there was a very popular meme, and it went something like this. The meme said, would you rather have dinner with Jay-Z, or would you take $500,000? That's the choice. Now, I was a little confused, and I didn't understand why so many people were kind of perplexed. They struggled with the answer. And, you know, being a financial advisor, it was kind of easy for me, but they would say, no, listen. Yes, the $500,000, that $500,000 sounds like a lot. But if you had dinner with Jay-Z to be able to soak up the knowledge, the connection, the network that you can find yourself in, you would probably never need another dollar in your life because you could always tap into that network that Jay-Z could connect you with. So yeah, the $500,000 now sounds good, but what about the network, JT? and I would look them dead in their face just for a few moments. And I would ask them, do you really want to know my answer? They would say, yeah, man. I mean, you're the financial guy. You're the financial advisor. What's your answer? I would give them my answer, but before I did, I would ask them this one question. I would ask them, how many dinners do you think Memphis Bleek has had with Jay-Z over the last 15 or 20 years? Now understand, Memphis Bleek isn't just some artist that Jay-Z found and liked. No. Memphis Bleek is like a childhood friend. It's like a little brother to Jay-Z. They knew each other from the neighborhood and knew each other long before Jay-Z was ever some rap superstar. So think about it. How many dinners do you think Memphis Bleek has had with Jay-Z? I would look at him and wait. Usually they would answer, oh man, they probably have been to dinner hundreds of times, if not thousands of times. And I said, that's it. Here's my answer. If Memphis Bleek has had dinners with Jay-Z hundreds, maybe thousands of times, then why does this exist? What you see on the screen right now is a bankruptcy filing in the District of New Jersey that was entered into March the 14th, 2016. And it was filed by Malik D. Cox, better known as Memphis Bleek. So let's get into the bankruptcy breakdown, because clearly my answer is I'm taking the $500,000. Okay? Because Memphis Bleek has had countless dinners with Jay-Z, and he still had to file for bankruptcy. I'm taking the money. I'm taking the money. But let's go over this. As I said, March the 14th, 2016, Malik Cox filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy in the District of New Jersey. Now, I want to be clear. There is a difference between Chapter 13 bankruptcy and Chapter 7. Chapter 7 is the total liquidation type of bankruptcy. It's the general concept that people have when you file for bankruptcy. You're trying to walk away from your debt, and whatever's left, they take everything that you own outside of the exempt assets that you get to keep. They sell it off, and they try to pay off as much of your debt as possible. Whatever's left, it goes away because you're walking away from the debt. That is not the type of bankruptcy that Memphis Bleek filed for. He filed for Chapter 13. Chapter 13 is the reorganization type of bankruptcy. That means you're trying to set up a payment plan. You're not trying to just walk away from all your debt and run away. No, you're saying, listen, give me some time. Give me 3 to 5 years. Let me put a plan together. And with this payment plan, I can get everybody right. But I don't need you taking my cars or taking my homes. Just give me some time and I can get everybody right. Now, the issue is that it didn't quite work out the way that Memphis Bleek planned, because it was dismissed August the 8th, 2016. Now, after Bleek failed to complete the full plan, it was officially closed January of 2017. So let's go over this bankruptcy. Now, based on the documents, Memphis Bleek's reported monthly income, once again, this was back in 2016, his monthly income was a little under $6,000, $5,911.94. Now, what were the sources of that income? A bulk, right? The most of the income came from his operation called, Get Low Touring. So clearly he was making most of his money from his own company performing at shows, live shows, touring. A little bit of money, and I mean a little bit of money, roughly around 10%, $571 was from his royalties from his music. Let's think about this for a second. $5,340 a month coming from touring, meaning you actually have to physically work. Now, he's not working at an Amazon factory, but he has to get on stage and perform. It's still a physical thing that you're doing. You would want to believe that a man with the catalog that he has, he would be making more than $571 a month off the royalties. You want that to be the other way around. You want a bulk of your money coming to you, through royalties, which is a passive source of income, rather than having to get up and dance and sing. But that's not the case for many, many, many of your favorite artists. But check this out. Just for a little bit of context here. While like $70,000 a year, because that's about what he was making, around $70,000 a year back in 2016 is a solid middle class income. Nothing to be ashamed of. Solid middle class income. It's not what you would expect from a rap superstar. Because I mean, he was on the stage with Jay-Z. He's on the stage. He's not Jay-Z, but he's close, right? He's close to Jay-Z. You would expect that he made way more money than the average middle class person in America. This is why I always say you cannot let social media, you cannot let popular culture trick you into believing these celebrities are richer than they are, because they're not. They're not. They can barely afford the lifestyle that you see on your screen and tricks you into trying to imitate their spending when they don't have the money to support the spending. And this is evidence right here. Let's take a look at his expenses. His monthly expenses were $5,377. Where was that money going? Well, a little chunk of that money, $2,551, was going towards his mortgage and housing. $500 was going towards utilities. Apparently, he had a car payment on his Chevy Impala, $516. He also had $280 for child support / alimony. Now, that would only leave him with about $534.94 left each month. That's not a lot of wiggle room. That's basically paycheck to paycheck. Why? Because if something pops up, you want to go out to eat. Now, there's a lot of things that happen in life throughout a month, throughout 30 days, something pops up. You're trying to, none of this is real entertainment spending. These are mostly basic needs. So it's extremely hard to live a lavish superstar rap star life when, you only got about $500 left without accounting for the luxuries that people try to have. Now, let's take a look at these assets. His total assets back then was $274,190. Now, we always have to look at the difference between appreciating assets and depreciating assets. Appreciating assets are things that go up in value after you buy them. Depreciating assets are things that go down in value after you buy them. The main appreciating asset that Memphis Bleek had was his home. It was worth around $250,000. This was his home in New Jersey. What about the depreciating assets? Well, let's talk about that 2014 Chevy Impala. $14,000. Now remember, this was in 2016. So the car is only 2 years old. Car's only 2 years old, but it's only worth $14,000. I'm pretty sure even in 2016, because I was buying cars back in 2016, a brand new Chevy Impala in 2014 costs more than $14,000. So you can see how fast it depreciates. Now, his other personal property came to the amount of $10,190. That includes a $5,000 wedding rings, $2,000 in clothes, and about $3,000 in household items. Now, his financial assets, Bleek reported that he only had about $100 in cash and $0 value in his business, Get Low Touring. That doesn't quite make sense to me. Doesn't quite make sense to me. If you look at the paperwork, seems a bit odd that the man only had $100 in cash. And the value of his touring company was absolutely nothing. But think about it. If Bleek gets sick, ain't no touring going on. So, and it's so it's kind of hard unless the touring company has assets like a touring van and equipment and stuff like that. I guess Get Low Touring is basically just a business name that he uses when he goes and, performs. So I guess you can say the company wasn't worth very much. But here's the thing that I want to point out. Here's the thing that we have to highlight. When you look at the investment side of the bankruptcy, where you're supposed to list the traditional assets, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, retirement accounts, 401ks, IRAs, do you have any idea what number was in that slot? Think about it. Think about it. And here's the answer. The answer is zero. Absolutely nothing. Nothing. Of all of the hits this man has been a part of back in 2016, you're telling me that all the assets that he has a home that's, worth about $250,000. He has a 2014 Chevy Impala, $14,000. Some jewelry and household items. And he has not $1 in investments. That's the issue. That's the lesson you need to learn. Because if he was investing about 15, maybe 20% of the money that was coming in when the money was really coming in, he would not be in the position that he's in during this time. All right, let's take a look at the debt. He reported his debt to be $384,804.91. Now, the secured debts, let's talk about that. What is a secured debt? A secured debt means that the person who you owe money to has collateral. So if you default on the debt, meaning you stop paying the debt, there is something physical that the company can take away from you. Number one, the house. There was a mortgage in the amount of $335,803.05 from Bank of America. Does anyone notice the problem? Think about it. Think about it. Run the numbers. All right, here is the problem. He owes $335,803.05 on the mortgage, but we already said the house is worth $250,000. That means you're upside down. That means he has more debt on the property than the property is worth. That is a huge problem. Now, let's go to the auto loan. Another issue. Auto loan, $24,655.86 from Wells Fargo. Same problem as the house. If the car is only worth $14,000 based on what we're seeing here, but the debt is $24,655.86. That means you owe about $10,000 more than what the car is worth. These are lessons for us. Think about your own life, people. How much do you currently owe on your car? Have you ever gone online and searched the actual value of your car today? Are you upside down in the equity of your home? Are you upside down in the equity in your car? You're spending money on the wrong things in the wrong way. All right? Clearly, Memphis Bleek paid too much for that house. And clearly, he paid too much for that car. Now, let's talk about the unsecured debts. The unsecured debts are the things that the people who you owe money to, they don't have like a first position to take some stuff, right? Unlike the mortgage, they can quickly go after the house. They're the first people who can go after that house. Unlike the car, Wells Fargo, they can quickly go after the car. But with these debts, it takes them a little time to take your stuff. Number one, we have the IRS. Apparently, Mr. Bleek owed the IRS $9,000. And he also had non-priority debts like medical debts and judgments in the amount of $15,346. This is why tax planning is important, especially when you're self-employed. When you're self-employed, you have to start sending the IRS checks in advance so you don't fall behind. This isn't bad. I've seen way worse than $9,000. But when you only have about $500 at the end of each month, it's kind of hard to make that money go towards a $9,000 debt. This is why Memphis Bleek wanted the bankruptcy, not chapter 7, but chapter 13 to set up a payment plan. Now, let's run these numbers. Based on the lifestyle that Memphis Bleek had back in 2016, what type of money did he really need to make? Well, based on the numbers, if you have a 50-30-20 budget, that means 50% of your income is going towards your needs. 30% of your income is going towards your wants. 20% gets to go towards saving and investing. If he had this type of budget in his mind and wanted to live that type of lifestyle, that means his monthly net income should have been $10,754. All right. So that means he only was making about half of what he really needed. All right. That means he should have had an annual income closer to around $130,000 a year. The problem here is his income was short about $4,842 every single month. That is a problem. That is a problem. Now, based on his current income during that time in 2016, he should have had things a little bit more downgraded. That means all of his needs should have only been around $2,955.50. His wants could have then been $1,773.30. And then he still would have had $1,182.20 to spend on saving and investing. It's all about the choices that you make. Now, there is a happy ending to this story. Even though the bankruptcy did not go through, it was dismissed because he was unable to keep up with the payment plan that they originally set. That's not the end for Mr. Bleek. Memphis Bleek has rebounded. All right. He is currently, in a much better position. He has his new podcast, Rock Solid. He still, of course, has his close relationship with Jay-Z. He's doing just fine. This is just a note to you to know life is not over at bankruptcy. You can rebound. But if you want to avoid bankruptcy altogether, then I strongly suggest that you follow the Pocket Watcher 7 money rules. What are you talking about, JT? I'm talking about these 7 simple rules that I have developed for my personal clients at my personal practice. I am sharing with you guys. If you follow these 7 rules, I can guarantee you will not go bankrupt. I cannot guarantee that you'll be a multi-millionaire, but you will not go bankrupt. Start with budgeting. Then you have your emergency savings fund. Then it's debt planning, insurance planning, tax planning, wealth planning, and estate planning. If you want a more detailed explanation, you can go to my website, pocketwatcher.net, and learn more. Also, if you need help organizing your financial life, go to the same website, pocketwatcher.net, and sign up for my free financial planning app. Inside that app, you can go ahead and build your budget. You can create your debt payoff plan, and the 7 Pocket Watcher money rules is also right there in the app. Now, if you have a question for the Pocket Watcher, you can go to the same website, pocketwatcher.net, click the Ask JT button, fill out the form, and when I get time, I'll do the best I can to get you an answer. And If you have a Black celebrity that you want me to pocket watch, someone who either filed for bankruptcy or had a problem with the IRS, go ahead and put it down in the comments. And once again, when I get time, I'll do the best I can to get you guys a video. Thanks for watching.
Are you looking for real financial advice? Thornton Financial is here to help. Certified financial planner Jason Thornton specializes in tax and wealth planning. Are you living paycheck to paycheck with no retirement plan? Do you need help with the IRS? Book your free consultation with Thornton Financial today. Budgeting, savings, debt management, and retirement. Even tax debt settlements. Get the advice you need to live your best life. Book your free consultation appointment today. Go to www.thornton-financial.com.